Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Talking Fitchburg on this Monday, October 18th. I am Andrew Bamlett, filling in for the week for Jeremy as he is out of the office. And we got a good show for you today. We're going to talk to Amy Mercer in the Digest, our city assessor, and answer your questions and tell you about the reevaluation year coming up for in 2021. And she'll talk about that and the process and how to, do open book and all of those kind of things. And we do have some virtual options this year, so stay tuned for that. And then we'll also talk with Tiffany from the Better Business Bureau about avoiding flood-damaged cars. If you're looking for a car right now, there's a good chance some in the south are going to be flood damaged, and they may have made their way up here, so you got to be careful of that. We're going to give you some tips on what to look out for so you don't get scammed on flood-damaged cars. First, we're going to give you some headlines here, and first we're going to talk about we do have Take Home Tuesdays at the Fitchburg Public Library, and that'll be, of course, tomorrow. We have crafts available for 2 to 5 and 6 to 12. They will be available starting at 9 a.m., and please come and only take one per child. And so show up and get some crafts to take home for your kids. That's always a great time. And enjoy Take Home Tuesdays from the Fitchburg Public Library. Also, we have South Saline Road closure coming up, which will be south of Wild Heather Drive to close. This will start October 19th, which is tomorrow, through October 26th. The road is being closed to complete the hill cut south of Wild Heather Drive. So please use local routes to get around this. You can see here on this map, right in the red there is where this is actually the construction is. And then here's your detour to go around the area. So please use the routes to get around this construction. Again, this is from the 19th to the 26th, so be prepared for that. Also, we have the used book sale coming up at the Fitchburg Public Library. That'll be the October 21st through the 23rd. The hours are noon to 5 on the 21st and 22nd, and 10 to 4 on the 23rd. Proceeds support the Fitchburg Public Library. And we have heard that there are a lot of books since they didn't have this last year due to the pandemic. There's quite a bit of material there to be part of the book sale. And there's other things too, DVDs, audio books, all of those kind of things. So come on down, again, starting this weekend on Friday, noon to 5 is the first day. So hope to see you out there. One more story here. We got the clean sweep coming up on the 23rd, this Saturday from 8 to noon. Parking lot is at the Marketplace Drive behind Funk's Pub and Oak Bank. You can see that here. So this is where you'll come in and go around. They'll have all the materials you want to drop off available. And this is what they're accepting and not accepting. So go ahead and take a look at this list and just make sure you're following the rules here and bring in only their accepted items. If you do have those unaccepted items, just make sure you don't bring them because this is a great service to have in here, and we don't want that to get ruined by a lot of unaccepted items to be put into the clean sweep. All right, that's going to do it for the headlines. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll sit down with the city assessor and learn about the reevaluation year coming up. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and do your part. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit any social gathering. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills. Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot?
Helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you, too.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from our assessing department, the assessor, Amy. The assessor. I want to, it's Amy Mercer, but it's like Amy the assessor just works better if you ask me. Amy, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Jeremy?
We're having fun here all the time at FACT TV, and glad to have you here as well. And today we're going to talk about the assessment. So different from last year, we're coming off a reevaluation year. We're coming off of, we're going to a reevaluation year after last year's maintenance year. So I have to get it right. Make sure
Correct.
I say it right.
Correct.
So Amy, first and foremost, what happened last year and why are we going, back to normal, I guess?
Okay, yep. Well, Fitchburg tends to revalue every year. But for the 2021's assessment roll, we chose to do a maintenance year. And that was partly because 2020 was such an extensive revaluation. And we lost about 4 months of work time, and so we just had to play catch up. A maintenance year is different than a revaluation in the sense that, in both a maintenance and reval, we do all the same work, but in a revaluation we do those additional steps of bringing things up to market. So in a maintenance year, we still review the sales, we still review building permits, owner requests for review, fires, all of that preliminary workload. We just don't do that final bringing up to the market. And being that we didn't revalue for 2021, the overall city market went up approximately 6-7%, right in that range. And this year it's continuing to go up. So we may end up with like a 12 to 15% change, that the assessments will actually alter this year.
And that sounds like a lot. And there's reasons behind that, as you had mentioned. So as you work into this year, maybe break it down a little bit more for us. So as you're heading out this year, what are you going to be telling people, or what will your department be telling people as they do work through these assessments?
Okay, so it kind of depends on what we go to the property for. Like I said, we'll still go visit for, let's say they pull a building permit for new construction. Well, we're going to go list that new construction, and then we'll derive that value. When we analyze the sales that occurred this year, we'll actually be looking at the sales over the last 2 years then to see how the market has increased or decreased. In most cases, I believe it's increasing, but certain properties might have decreased. And so we analyze that by neighborhood. So it's not fair to put all properties into one bracket and say, okay, everything's going up 6%, because one neighborhood might actually go down 1%, and another neighborhood might actually go up 15%. So it kind of depends. And that's the assessed value that's increasing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your tax bill is going to increase that same percentage. Then typically if the market goes up, then that mill rate adjusts for that total assessed value.
And I think that kind of leads me into my next question, the things that you are looking for, the things that and as a homeowner, and I love talking with you about this because there's so much to know, and I know your staff is really good at letting people know exactly why or what things go into that valuation. But as far as for somebody who may be new to this, new homeowners, we got a lot of new people moving into the area, and we'll talk about another issue on that front, but something we want you all to know about. But what should they understand overall about the assessment, and why do we do that each and every year?
Okay, so in Fitchburg in particular, I guess each jurisdiction in the state We all have to follow the same statutes, but depending on what occurs in each jurisdiction, you might not have to revalue each year. If your jurisdiction is pretty homogeneous, the housing stock's the same, quality, construction, same builders, same size lots, same size houses, well, you can probably wait year after year to revalue. But in Fitchburg, our housing stock is so diverse. We go from condos that are like 70,000 to over $1 million condos. And then we go from single family, it's the same, that you have, simple or, small 1,200 square foot homes up to 5,000 square foot homes. And so each of those kind of market segmentations, those different types of houses, they sell differently. The median home here in Fitchburg, I think, is like $331,000. So if you have a home that's below that, roughly that median sale price, you have a greater supply, or a less supply, but you have a greater demand for those properties. So you have more people who are bidding on those, and when they bid, then they might bid 10, 20, 30, 40,000 over that price that they're even asking. And those are the ones that we tend to find that are, selling for 15% over what their last assessment was. And then you might have the opposite end of like $1 million home. And if you can afford, not too many people can afford that, but if you're fortunate enough to afford that, well, do you necessarily want to buy an existing $1 million home, or are you going to create and build your own home? So those homes might actually sell for less than what their current assessment is. So, we just have a very diverse community here. We have a wonderful housing stock. Most people can find something, and everyone is so different that they want something different. Some want the condos, others want a lot of land. Others don't want that land because they don't want to mow it or maintain it. So, we have rural properties with agricultural properties. We just have just about everything in Fitchburg.
I'm going to go on what I think would be an average question here, and it would be on the frustration of, I didn't do too much to my home this past year, or, my neighbors have done a lot of things, and I'm comparing maybe a deck to this. I know these are all like specific areas, but how do you approach that? When somebody says that to you, well, I didn't do anything to my home. Why are you raising it up so much? And you're comparing it to so-and-so who did all these things. How does that play out?
So there's a couple different things with, I think, what you just asked. So first of all, we're required by law to assess at fair market value. And that's why we look at those sales. That's why it's really important to go out and view those sales and see that. We ask basic sale questions, but we need to match that sale price to what they actually bought. So then we can use that as an analysis to compare to other properties and use those sales in the sales comparison approach. So there's that first part, and even though you didn't do anything to your property, we still have to bring it to that market level so that everyone is equitable. But then you have properties that have made changes, and so then we have to change those data attributes on that property. So even if we didn't revalue the city, but let's say you added a deck, and let's say your house was at $300,000 to begin with, well, your assessment would go up for for what that deck attributed value would be. So let's say it would go from $300,000 to $305,000, but your neighbor doesn't have that deck and they have that same house. Theirs would still be at $300,000. So when we process, we begin to process by the initial work of making sure all those attributes are correct to begin with. Then we analyze those markets. That's a later step. And then we analyze that market and say, okay, this whole neighborhood is coming in 5% higher. And then we bring that up, that 5%.
Yeah, and I know it's a lot of information, and one thing I want you all to know is your staff are there to answer questions, and by all means ask the questions, because you can be upset about what's going on, but I think if you don't ask, and we want you to know that we're here, there's a lot of resources online that are out there for you. I do want to get to this year, we're taking online registration for appointments, so just tell us a little bit about it. We'll show people how to do this, of course, but kind of a nice feature this year.
Yeah, it is. It's we're kind of excited. We're working through the kinks of it, but it allows property owners to actually schedule their own appointments, and you don't have to use the online. So those who are not comfortable with doing that, you just call us like you always have, and we'll schedule it. But we go into the same booking tool. And it's pretty nice. You just pick the day. You can pick if you want a Zoom appointment. So with COVID, we're still offering, virtual appointments. And then, we still like to do the in-person because we get better data when we actually can be in that property. But we're still offering both, and you can just go out, pick the day, the type of appointment, the day, and then it shows you what available half-hour slots are there. And you pick it, and you just fill in your basic information about address that the property is, owner. It does require an email address, and then as part of that email address, as soon as we book that or you book it, you get an email confirmation with the date and time, and you can add that right to your calendars if you use Outlook or Gmail. And then it also allows you to reschedule if you need to reschedule that. And it gives you a one-day reminder also. So it'll send a reminder email a day before your appointment is how we have it set up. So we're pretty excited about it. And I would say probably we sent a batch of letters out, a couple weeks ago. And I'd say about half of the people that have scheduled have done it directly on their own. And then we've scheduled the other half. So.
Perfect. Well, Amy, any final comments here? We're running out of time. Of course, I always love to just ask you a ton of questions, but any final thoughts here as we go through this year?
No, we just ask that people always be patient with us. We, we continue to change staff and things, but all staff always has a picture ID and you can always call with any of your questions. We always recommend you do that. We're here to assist you, and we just want to do a good job for the citizens here.
All right, Amy, always nice catching up with you. Good luck the rest of this year on getting all of the assessments done. I can't think of a department that works harder than you guys, so thank you. And we'll be sharing more videos about frequently asked questions and just to understand what's happening this year as far as the valuation year. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. All right, we'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be flood next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day.
I have no time for this.
So.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantori here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family, and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today for the Better Business Bureau, my friend, Tiffany Schultz. Tiffany, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. And today we're going to be talking about avoid buying flood damaged cars. The hurricane season has definitely taken hold, or there's been quite a few places that have had some pretty significant flood damage across the U.S. And that has led to some damaged vehicles or the reselling of these damaged cars. And we want to make sure that you avoid buying those today. And that's where our friend Tiffany gets in and breaks this down. So Tiffany, first and foremost, there's many reasons behind this. And given COVID, I mean, everybody's looking for cars too. And there's a shortage of cars. So it's like the perfect storm.
Scammers follow the news and they know what's going on in the country. And if you think about what happened a few months back, there were floodwaters that ravaged the South, ravaged the East, and those flood damaged cars could be showing up in car dealers and for secondhand sales right here in Madison area. We don't know that. But before you purchase a secondhand car, we want you to do the homework so you don't end up with one of these flood damaged vehicles.
Yeah, so let's try to figure this out on what you can do to prevent this. So first one is ask to see a title to the vehicle.
That's the most important part of purchasing a used vehicle. Ask to see that title. If that title came from a state that's flood damaged within the last few months, that's the number one red flag that it could be a flood damaged vehicle. Always a great thing to look at the title, see where it came from, and see who owned it prior.
Absolutely. Carefully check the dashboard, examine all the gauges to see if you notice something that's a little off.
First, you want to make sure that everything is working, but there could be some water damage to those gauges as well. Is there dried water sitting behind the lighted console? So really some things that maybe the seller is trying to pass off to you that you're not going to notice because you're so in love with the vehicle. Maybe the vehicle's been cleaned up and you have to have this vehicle or you need a vehicle and this one, this one's going to work, but maybe it's not going to work. So always check those gauges to make sure that they work and to also see if there is that water damage that has maybe been not cleaned up.
Sticking with that theme too, there's a lot of electronics to the vehicle now, and whether you're buying, whether we're looking for this damage or not, this is just common sense. You got to check out these electronics.
Unless you're a handy person who can fix up a vehicle and you know a lot about cars, you're buying that car typically to be able to drive it off the lot and use it right away. You don't have time to be fixing gauges or fixing anything that's wrong. You're expecting it to work correctly. So before you even make an offer on a vehicle, whether it's to a dealer or a private party, always make sure everything works.
And then looking through the interior of the car, what are some things you can look for as signs of damage from water?
Any type of water damage on the upholstery, mold, maybe the car has been recently shampooed and it smells brand new. That's really not a huge red flag, but it could be a red flag. Look around on the carpet too. Is the carpet loose? Does it look maybe like the carpet has been replaced? That could be a red flag that the vehicle was flood damaged as well.
Absolutely. As far as getting a vehicle history report, where can you find those reports at?
You can usually find those online. Sometimes they are free for minimal information. Other times you do have to pay. So that's something that sometimes the car dealer will offer you. Sometimes you can ask the seller to pay for it. Or if you're not having any luck getting that from the seller, you can purchase that yourself as well.
Gotcha. And remember to check under the hood. Again, if you're not a car, I'm certainly I don't know jack about how to repair a car completely. So definitely getting this checked out is super important.
A used vehicle may have been washed on the outside, but if you lift the hood, you may see mud, grime, grip in the engine compartment, in the wheel wells. If you see anything like that, it may have come from a flood damaged state. So really a great thing to do is look over the entire vehicle, not just the parts of the vehicle that you're falling in love with.
Finally, the classic, the old smell test. So what, I mean, if it smells moldy, I'm sure that's a red flag, but what are some other signs that it just doesn't pass the smell test?
If it doesn't pass the smell test, it's probably the big red flag that you shouldn't be buying the vehicle.
I love it. Finally, and really important, and again, across any time you're buying a vehicle, is find a reputable dealer. How can you sort out all these dealerships and make sure you're buying from the right person?
Head on over to bbb.org. You can check out free business profiles if you are purchasing from a secondhand seller. You really want to do your homework, look over the vehicle, even Google online the person's name, see if there's any complaints against them. You really, really need to do your homework when you are purchasing from that secondhand seller, and even when you're purchasing from a legitimate dealership.
And Tiffany, if people do come across this, why is it important to report it to authorities, DATCP, to stop this fraudulent activity from happening?
Regardless if you've been a victim of a scam, we'd like you to report it to us at bbb.org/scam tracker. Your report helps us warn others of the scams that are taking place in the marketplace. And one of the beauties of that scam tracker tool is you can zoom right in to see what's happening here in the Madison area.
All right, Tiffany, thank you so much. Hopefully people will think twice as they see that too good to be good deal. It's a Monday. That's all I'm saying. Thank you so much, Tiffany. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Too good to be true. I still can't do it. Oh, man. All right, we'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg. Too good to be true.
Como padre, todos los días son un desafío. Y hay que estar ahí presentes. No importa lo cansado que uno esté, hay que estar ahí presentes para ellos. Cuando los niños aprenden algo nuevo, es ese momento mágico y especial. Y creo que presenciar ese momento es mi favorito.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Wrapping up the show today, I want to thank Tiffany from the Better Business Bureau of coming by and talking about those flood damaged cars and what to look out for, and Amy, our city assessor, and for all the information. Again, give them a call if you have need any help or have any questions. And this is where you can find us, folks. Stay connected with Fact TV. We are everywhere, and I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.